Mike.
Great. Good evening, Frank.
All right. Well, how was your week?
It was great. How about yourself?
Yeah, it was really good.
Good.
It was a good week, yeah. So, welcome back to another edition of Perspective Shift. I am Frank.
And I'm Mike.
And we're the guys who do perspective shifts.
We are.
Yeah.
So let's get at it.
We're trying. All right. So, what topic or angle?
What should we talk tonight
I
about?
don't know. I was thinking, I had a couple conversations. Obviously, today is the 4th, so yesterday was election day.
Mm-hmm.
And me and Mike are not political, but yet we're bringing this up because of the disturbance a lot of people have, or the angst they have over this political thing. Either for this person, that person, there's angst. And what it is, I'm not saying you ought not to focus or pay attention to politics, but we have to step back a little bit and realize it is a game to not get caught up in it. Because the truth is, why a lot of the animosity is being created today is because everyone's looking for a savior, and they always have been. Nothing outside of us, no individual, no thing, no circumstance, will ever satisfy us. It certainly won't save us. We need to go inward. Again, it's the subject we've always talked about. Again, putting the horse in front of the carriage. In this case, in the analogy of the horse and carriage, the horse would be my inward feeling, and then once I get set in that, then I can then pull the carriage in the direction, in the physical realm, into what you want to experience. But if you're waiting for the perfect candidate to get in to feel good, this is why we are in the division we're in. And the division isn't with somebody else, the division's within, because empirically we know this. We know innately that we're the only ones that can make ourselves happy and have an understanding what we think security really is. But because we don't know that, we place it on the outside world to another individual or individuals or governments or whatever. It doesn't mean they don't exist, but go within first.
And I do think that comes from just the natural programming we receive growing up. This is just what Frank and I are talking about is, I hate the term unlearning the past, but it really is. It's breaking down how we were mentally trained and the stuff and the patterns we put in our heads unconsciously.
Yeah.
This is through the projection of others, ourselves, the media, brands, marketing, all of that. So when Frank is talking about is we're taught to look outside for a savior, or
A solution.
Yeah. That's why religion is so popular. Jesus, Buddha, everybody, these guys are all hanging out talking about the same thing, guys. And it's going within.
Yeah.
And that's what Frank is ultimately getting at. So when we see these political elections go on, put it in the sense, or look at it in the sense that I can't depend on an outside source to allow my life to flourish, if you will. Essentially, we can't look outside for a savior or for a solution. That solution can only come within.
Yeah, exactly. And when you actually go within, you actually find the solution, and then you actually present it to the outside world. So we're not anti-materialist.
But we're taught to search for that answer and find it from a third-party source growing up our entire life.
And
I
you know
feel
why?
like that's the issue, and why nobody trusts their
They charge
intuition.
us.
Yeah, right?
If you come with me, I will show you to the kingdom of heaven.
But it's hard to get that conditioning out of your head.
Well,
that
it can,
I'm not right, I
it
can't
can be,
right.
it can be, because actually what we're teaching right here, and actually as we're being playful with it, the truth is, the empirical truth is, it doesn't have to be hard, because whatever belief we attach to it, whether it's hard, lengthy, takes 21 days to whatever. Again, the last transmission we talked about modalities. These are all correct if you believe in them. But why would you not take 21 days down to 21 seconds? Again, we've talked about these paradigms before. We live in a quantum universe. And people say, well, you can do this. It may be difficult. That's okay. The only thing you need to know is possible. then if you're like, okay, it's going to be a little hard, but I know it's possible, so I'm not worried about working hard. You'll achieve it. But the truth is, we're not unlearning. We're literally recording over. Remember cassette tapes years ago, and if you recorded over a song that you didn't like, the other song was, actually somebody could probably go in with a really good set of instruments and find that song underlaying the other song, but the other song is so overpowering, you didn't technically get rid of the other song, but you so over amplified it with the new song, you can't even hear it. That's what we're talking about. We're not getting rid of it, but we're amplifying above it to where the other thing is a nonsensical thing at the time. That's the easiest route. And how do you do that? Once you become conscious of it, you start to shift and change. In that instance, you actually change the programming. Now, you can fall asleep again and just revert back to what we continue to do back, but you don't really go back, but revert back to another way of thinking.
Unconscious.
Unconscious. And a lot of times when you're along this pursuit, as me and Mike are, and I've experienced this early on, that sometimes you do that, but when it happens, you learn to deepen. So right now, if frustration even floats into my experience, I laugh because I was getting distracted. But if I get pissed because I should be further along the way, I should never get distracted, well, that's ridiculous. That will actually cause distraction.
That's just the ego jumping in, having fun.
It is, So distraction to me, I then say, well, it's the art of discovery. And I lighten it up. So enlighten means taking a situation, enlighten it up, so you can then convert it into a perspective shift, into a positive one, or what we call preferential one. So in this case, positive perspective, and what we look at is preferential one. That's it.
And it's funny, so as you begin to do this more and more, what you realize, ultimately all you're doing is solely inner work. You're just working on yourself day in, day out. And so when you're deep diving and working on yourself, you begin to take these situations that used to frustrate you and you analyze them, and I don't want to say, I guess analyze is probably not the best word.
Contemplate.
You contemplate,
Yep.
and you digest it in a much simpler and less stressful matter, because you start to, you slowly go from, oh my God, it's the end of the world, to okay,
Yeah, it's not that bad.
this is annoying, to, all right, I get now
Yeah.
that I am not the head chatter, to like the next point, which is like, okay, I'm creating the head chatter.
Yeah, you're moving along the scale in what we call an appropriate fashion. Like we've talked about this before, to go to life sucks to life is great, it can be achieved, but that's not the goal. The goal is life sucks. Well, it's not that bad. Because going from life sucks to not that bad, and I've mentioned this analogy before, it literally changes your frequency output. And so what actually we're doing here with Perspective Shift, the program that me and Mike are talking about, and you can use any topic or any subject in it, what we're really trying to convey to you out there and to us, because this helps us remind us, so we enjoy it.
Oh, absolutely.
It really conveys to us that we are to learn to regulate a system to acclimate to the outside world, because the outside world is put together by 7 billion people, plus whatever extra 7.8 billion people on the planet.
All one source.
So most people are trying to create the environment to work with them, and it's a headache. But if I actually regulate my body to work within the environment, it is so much easier. I only have to worry about my regulation. So no matter what happens, I'm okay. It's all good. But somehow we were taught to try to rearrange the furniture so you feel good. Make sure the door faces east so I can feel good. No, you can feel good. You can use that as a permission slip. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, because it's a conscious effort to buy a house that's facing east. But is it necessary to enter into the kingdom of God? And the answer empirically is no, it isn't. But yet, consciously, when you do that, the causation is the conscious focus. Creating that is the true occurrence to why it has, the true causation to why it happened, not the door facing east. These are all modalities or systems that we do, and I'm not knocking them. I think they're all beautiful, because without a system or something to focus on, consciousness doesn't work. Consciousness needs something to focus on and create the physical world in order to play. Otherwise,
We would have no field.
it'd be like music without a speaker,
Yeah.
or music without an ear. You wouldn't hear it. So we're not knocking the modalities. There's a lot of lovely modalities I like to do, and that creates my focus. But really, when you understand the true causation of everything, is how we feel about it and how we focus on it. And then when I consciously focus on something, all of a sudden, what I amplified out starts to come to me in pieces and signals, and I act and respond on them. But I get in the state first, and then act on the impulses. There was a lot of my life where I would go do something. Oh, I'm going to go do this. It'll make me feel better. Again, given the outside experience, the outside thing, whatever it is, its job to make me feel better. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to get ice cream. It makes me feel better. By the third ice cream cone, I feel lousy, right? Because what happened? Like, why? Well, when I was a kid, I was always excited eating ice cream. Well, when you were a kid, you weren't giving the permission slip to the ice cream giving cone. You were happy and excited. You just happened to go to the ice cream store and eat it. The ice cream cone, in that case, as a child, became the extension that perpetuated the excitement. It wasn't causation. It was the perpetuation or the creativeness of the excitement.
So Frank is onto something like truly great with this, because this is the cycle that we all get caught up in life. Is we think that, okay, it's going to be the house, it's going to be the husband, it's going to be the wife, it's going to be this that's going to bring me happiness.
Yeah.
And we're all caught in this chase, no matter what age you are, no matter what stage of your life you are. And that chase is truly us searching in the outside world for what we're trying to find within.
Yeah.
So until this work is done internally, we will perpetuate this 360 of the same type of experiences, in a different way.
Yeah, that's true, and exactly what Mike said. But what also we want to remind you is when you regulate yourself within, all of a sudden the house will show up, the wife will show up, the husband will show up, the perfect job will show up. But you have to prepare yourself by going within, not without. We're not trying to say, oh, just sit on a log and be happy as hell. No, because just like the child that doesn't know to achieve did more work than the parents that they are parented by throughout the day, because their energy was so exhilarating, but they didn't set out to achieve, they just achieved.
And I do think it's important, like, Frank and I just aren't just like happy-go-lucky. Hey guys,
No,
this
no.
is a daily
You should
work.
have seen me earlier.
Like,
That was like
this
swinging.
is something
Yeah.
that, Frank's got years in, like, that we, so what I'm trying to say is this is something that when it clicks and you start to see it and you start to feel it in the world around you, and it starts to, I don't want to say work because that's just a poor term for it, but put this into practice, and this is what they're talking about when we say heaven.
Yeah, and some days it does feel like work, but it's almost like this: you found the perfect meal, and to say, for argument's sake, it was the ability to find a perfect meal and eat for the rest of your life. You still have to wake up every day and prepare it. It doesn't just survive. So every day, I might utilize a ritual thing. Again, the ritual I use isn't the causation. It's the focus that the ritual allows me. The causation is the conscious focus. It is so tiny and so easy. And what I mean is, some days I might get up and meditate. Some days I might go up and jump in a cold pool. Some days I might just get up and go right to gym and meditate later or whatever. I don't wake up and say, I must do this. I wake up and I stop breathing. And I feel good. All of a sudden, it's like my higher self says, if you jump in the pool, you'll wake up right away. So, and then I look at my higher self, it's like, seriously? And I do it, and then I do it, and but I realized it wasn't a cold pool, because when you go into a cold pool, from the physicality of the body, it makes me focus and shut my mind down, because you're like, oh my God, all right, that is just one modality that I use, but it isn't the causation. I actually, at a deeper level, I understand it was my focus, because when I step into cold water, coming from a nice, warm, comfortable bed, it's tough to be unconscious, people. You actually wake up. But I woke up prior to going to cold water. We live in a quantum universe. It happens so quickly. Horse in front of the carriage, and then the horse will pull the carriage to the physicality of the world. But if you do this, your life is making sure the carriage is in front of the horse, and it's laborious.
And dive into that more. What we mean by horse is a feeling. You're gonna bring it to you. Like people, people are looking for the end result without having the feeling, saying, oh, when this shows up in life, I'm going to be happy. No. When you're happy, you will bring that to you. That's putting the horse in front of the carriage.
And it actually, you draw it to you, because when you feel...
Or draw it to you, excuse me.
Yeah, no, you bring it to you, draw it to you, same thing. But when you actually feel good, so the thought is, I want to go experience this, and we talked about this in a podcast we did about imagination. The imagination is a field where I close my eyes and I think about something that I want to experience that perhaps I've never experienced, but I know it, I'm aware of the attributes that need to be experienced. So it generates a feeling. If I fully immerse myself and I fully believe I can achieve it, the feeling, the electromagnetic field, which is a feeling, the imagination is electrical pulse that shoots out, and then when I feel it, I become a magnet, electromagnetic field. And the more I really feel it, you don't have to feel it like you can taste it, but if you feel it a little bit, all of a sudden you'll actually attract impulses to act on. And it will show you the path to get to the place. But in that moment of feeling good, you have to let go of how it's going to happen. Your good feeling will create impulses and like, oh, I had an idea, let's go do this. We'll do it. And you act on that just like a GPS. If you put the address in, okay, you get in your car, it says, make a right out of your driveway. And if you make the right out of your driveway, it will then award you the next bit of information. If you don't, it won't go any further than make a right. It'll sit there, make a right. Make a right. And the cool thing is, a GPS, just like a higher self, will never, in a million years, give up on you. And so, even if we get lost, even if we get distracted, it will always recalculate from where we are and get us to where we want to go. And that's just it. But it's the feeling that attracts the map. Nobody can sell you the map, because the map they're selling you is the map that got them there. It'd be like me selling a map for Mike to get to LA from my house, but he might live 10 miles across town. He ain't making it out of his driveway because he can't make any sense of it. There might be coordinates in the map that are very similar, but it won't be till a certain point to where maybe perhaps he gets on I-10, so to speak. Us living in Phoenix, if you guys don't know it by now. Yes.
Out here in the desert.
Out here in the warm desert. It's getting cooler out, but...
It is.
Yeah, so make it simple, make it playful, but remember, and this is what was meant by Jesus saying, become childlike. It's not a childish thing, but the childlike state, a child doesn't go to the playground and play because they want their grades to pick up. They go because they woke up, one eye, another eye, and they realize, oh my God, and life enters into their body. They just jump out of bed, run out the door, and they're drawn to the playground. The playground is nothing but an extension of their experience. It isn't a causation, but it does help to perpetuate it. So the physical world is the mirror of the experience we're having inside. And when I look in the mirror at my hair and I like it, I continue and I let it go and I let it perpetuate. So everything in a reflective is a perpetuation. I like that. Well, continue it until a further moment in when you need to shift it. And then I go in and change my hair again. I like this. Perpetuation. But the mirror isn't the causation of my hair looking good. The mirror is just a mere reflection. So if I went out and tried to change the mirror because I didn't like my hair, think about how ridiculous that would be.
Well, I love that because it's like, this is why you can, like Albert Einstein said, either everything's a miracle or nothing's a miracle.
Correct.
And these little experiences that we have throughout the day, that when we recognize and allow ourselves to truly be present with them, it's that focus and it's that flow that we're looking for. And we can find that in anything.
Yeah, isn't it a miracle that people could lose their shit because a certain person got elected? And I'm making light of it because, and I get it, because they really think their life depends on it. And the thing is, if you believe that,
it's true.
It's true. So I'm not going to dishonor your belief. But there's another level, and you step above it. I'm not ignoring it. But what it's telling me is, okay, now's the time for me to be steadfast in my secret to myself. And when I do, that's the moment in which I can then perpetuate out and help others. But if I don't help myself and get myself right, I am just another person in the crowd screaming and yelling. And, you know, the saying that always got me when I was younger, that one day I'm like, oh my God, that makes so much sense. That helped me get out. It's a very simple, elementary statement. And I remember someone saying this, and I've heard it before at the time, but when I heard it, it just resonated with me. And I was worrying about something. I was probably like 18 years old. And this guy, a friend of my dad's, looked at me and says, hey kid, in 100 years from now, it ain't gonna matter. Unless I live to 120, because I was 18 at the time. But all of a sudden, I let it go. It doesn't mean I ignore what was in front of me. But when I let go of the worry, all of a sudden the solution entered into the field. And I didn't brush anything under the carpet. I actually picked it up and did something. But when I was worrying, I was in a state of panic. I couldn't see the solution. We're not here to ignore problems. We're here to, because if I'm not ignoring the problem, I'm heading towards a solution. There's a difference.
Well, and I love that because, like, you've also heard the quote that you can't find the solution in the same mindset that you found the problem.
That's another Einstein.
Is that?
It's
love it.
Somewhat.
I can't remember who it was.
Yeah,
I
but
just remember that.
Yeah, you're paraphrasing it, but that was an Einstein phrase.
Anytime I get kind of in what we're talking about, that frustration.
Actually, he was Einstein in the past life.
There you go.
Can't you tell by the hair? He actually learned his lesson this time.
He's looking back and like,
no, it didn't work out this time. My hair.
That's
like, what's that crazy guy's hair? It's like, do you realize he's a genius? Yeah, but the hair's distracting me.
All right, I'm coming back on the pompadour this
time.
Yeah,
exactly.
But, you know, like, it's so true. And it's like, okay, so when you look at that, the Einstein quote, or however I paraphrased it, essentially, what we're trying to get at is, like, sorry, I forgot the quote. I'm trying to pull it back.
Oh, you can't solve the problem with the same mind that created it.
Yeah, correct. Sorry about that. Okay, so, like, if you're in the same mindset of how the problem was created, what that means is you're on a frequency. So you need to change the frequency in order to find that solution. You can't find an answer with the mind racing, you're all over the place. Yeah. So allow yourself to pull it back. And guys, we know this isn't the easiest thing in the world, but again, that's a mind of you. Say, okay, this isn't going to be too hard for me to commit to. This isn't, I can do this. Start turning it and play with that voice in your head. Yeah. It's not you, the head chatter, it's not you. We associate ourselves with that, but when you can remove yourself from that, these thoughts become less intense, and you realize what they are and what they're coming through as is my brain's working, that is subconscious. I acknowledge that thought, but I'm not going to accept it.
You don't grab onto it. You
Nope.
let it go by. And also, like, understand this too. Whenever there is a problem, just like a flashcard, when you step out of the problem, there's a cosmic flashcard. And you know, a flashcard, what does the color blue look like? And you flip it over and it gives you the answer. So every question or every problem, it has a cosmic flashcard.
Answer.
And it has an answer with it. So when you think about a flashcard, you just need to flip it over and there it is. Flipping it over is a slight change, a 180 change in the frequency setting.
And this is a big deal, what Frank's touching on, because you will learn to truly trust yourself, your intuition, and you won't search for an answer outside. You'll know within.
Yeah.
It will feel right,
That's
and you'll
right.
move forth. And that's a big deal, because that's what we're all looking for.
That's it.
We can't find that answer outside anywhere. You know, your body, your awareness, your consciousness knows the answer to everything.
Yeah, it does. Because, you know, years ago, I thought I was clever enough, so when people would ask me, like, how do you deal with this? And I would offer up advice. And I no longer do that, because when you think about the word advice, and I'm playing with it, but all you're doing is adding another vice, which you got to grip onto.
I like that.
And the reason I don't, someone says, what do you think I should do in this situation? And what now is, I don't really offer advice. I say, well, do you believe it's possible to get out of the situation? Yeah. I'm like, well, you'll come up with the answer. I'm like, because I am not suitable to give you the solution to your problem. Only you are. And that's why people ask 5 people advice, and they'll play the odd numbers. Like, oh, 5 people, well, it's 3 people gave me this one. You know, and it's interesting because it would only, you can't, even that person is tilted on the advice. Yeah, and so you play the odds and you do that. Yeah, and you know, it may or may not work out, but the thing is this also too, know this, when I'm asking for advice, in the true scope of things, and this is why when people ask for advice, say, hey, what do you think I should do? And they tell you something like, you're full of shit. And the funny thing is, a lot of people do that because instinctively, if they're listening, they already know what to do. They just need validation from somebody else. But what happens if someone agrees with them, like, you're right, because you knew it. But if you disagree, it means because they weren't on the same wavelength as you. Because if I was, like, one day if I asked for the same advice, like, what should I get to eat every day, right? But every day I felt a little different, it's going to be something different to eat. So depending on how I ask the question, what state I'm in, I'm going to get a different answer every time. Life works that way. People are trying to be very regimented in life. I'm like, the only regiment, I don't even call it regiment, is to focus on how you feel. And I'm like, oh, I feel good. Well, I'm feeling a little tired. Well,
better rest.
Yeah, or how do you rest? Stop saying you're tired. It really is in a field. And then how do you do that? Well, that's difficult. Well, tell yourself, who cares that I'm tired? When you actually let go of having to be awake and accepting tiredness, in the field of acceptance, you're not as tired. It's a beautiful thing. So literally, who cares?
Well, technically,
It doesn't matter.
There is no tiredness.
Yeah, it's an illusion.
Totally an illusion.
But yet, it is a focused physical illusion that we're playing in. So we're not discounting it, but we're playing in the field. But once I say to myself, who cares? I'm not going to die. Whatever you have to tell yourself, I'm tired. All of a sudden, you're not as tired. But when you focus on tired and try to think, why am I tired? What happened last night? Oh, I must have ate the cookie too late and this and that. All of a sudden, you're thinking, and those thoughts are generating, or I shouldn't say generating, they're actually burning up energy. And then you become more tired and more frustrated. It doesn't really matter, no matter what state you're in. One of the issues that we have is we're always comparing a frequency setting, experience, to one that was previous to the moment now. He's like, oh my God, that was the greatest day I ever had. If you're going to make that statement, get to a place where you say that every day. Because once you say, this is the greatest day I had, the greatest day I ever had was when I was 5. I'm like, and you're 20. Oh, shit, that's 15 years. Oh my God.
Painful.
That's great, right? Yeah. So what you
Should
do,
be
you sit
today.
down, you drink a bottle of whiskey, and you're thinking about the time of your 5. And you just pray to God that you don't forget, right? You're drinking enough whiskey, holy shit, I forgot the memory of 5. Well, I'm like, yeah, it's a good thing, because now you can start over and find a whole new memory that is like good, right?
Seriously.
The memory of 5 is there just to allow you to know that great days once occurred, really occurring now, because I'm thinking about it, it's only the moment now. But then we can always fall into that experience. But great days are every day, but they're going to be different great days. Even if someone splashes mud onto me. It was an interesting great day.
And the trick is to it, guys, is to like jump into the fact that you can work with being uncomfortable and what's living in the unknown. Like that's how you're gonna become most present. That's how you're gonna truly experience.
And that's how you regulate.
Absolutely, because Frank, you touched on this earlier, but like it's so important that we regulate ourselves to the outside world and we don't try to fix the outside world. It's like being in a bad relationship. And we trying to fix our partner, etc. It's like, guys, no. Fix within, then it'll happen without.
Yeah, and this is it. When you go to fix within, you might realize, or a
That
subtle
everything's within.
impulse that might not be the right partner. That
Oh,
happens. So
all
you know,
the time.
either you find that partner is the most beautiful person you ever met, or you realize, ooh, either way, it's solved. It doesn't matter that way. But life is an obstacle course. Is why we came here. But people came here. It's like, oh, no. I want a straight path to the kingdom of heaven. No, you forgot to. You're at the wrong floor here. You came down to the third dimensional one of time. This is an obstacle course. It's got ice. It's got mud. It's got this thing called gravity. What? What the? Why would I do this? Why would a Navy SEAL join the Navy SEALs? Because you want to really exercise how powerful you are if you can stay focused. This is why we came to planet Earth and have an experience. And 2020 is a hell of an experience of focus.
And speaking of hell, again, we're going to choose if we want to live in heaven or hell. This is what Jesus was talking about. Do we want to live in suffering, or do we want to have salvation?
And how do we choose that?
Well, that's by our thought alone.
Our perspective.
Our perspective.
Yeah.
And that's so important that people think, oh, heaven is this place up in the sky.
Yeah.
Guys, heaven is what we're creating right now. We're in heaven or we're in hell. Are we going to suffer daily and run and allow our subconscious to roll through our heads and drag us through the mud? Or are we going to create and inspire? That's free will. That's heaven.
Did you ever see that movie Stir Crazy?
No.
It might be a little before your time.
No.
So it's these two characters played by
Is it
Gene
an
Wilder.
80s movie or 90s?
What? Yeah, it was like 80s, I
Okay.
believe, if I recall right. So it was Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor. They were good friends, and I forgot the circumstances for a long time, but they got arrested and ended up in jail. And it turned out that Gene Wilder was really good, and where they were in this prison, the prisoners would enter into these rodeos, and the warden would bet on him. Is how he made his money. It was like, so it turned out that Gene Wilder was really good at riding a bull, but he didn't want to go forth and do that because he didn't like the warden. He wasn't going to be part of that. And mind you, this is a comedy we're talking about. So they would torture him. And Gene Wilder would go in there, and like Richard Pryor would get tortured too, and he was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe what they did to me." But Gene Wilder's like, "Oh my God, I had this back problem," and they fixed it. What it is one person was looking at the torture as this hellish place, and the other person was looking at him like, "Thanks guys, you fixed my back problem."
That's what heaven and hell
And meanwhile, he's in prison getting tortured, and they fixed his back problem. And if you ever been to a chiropractor, you know what I'm talking about, because they're like, it's medieval type shit, right? But yet, it's perspective, and the outcome worked in his favor where the other one was living in hell. And that's the comical thing there. That's the duality in life. We get to choose it. That's the free will. I look at life as this way. The story is already written. It's a very interesting concept. The story is already written. All right? Because we wouldn't be able to read a book if it wasn't already written. Now, me and Mike can both pick up the same book. He can read it and I can read it. We could be midway and discuss. We could be at the end. I'm like, oh, it was a great book. Mike was like, yeah, it was so-so. Every single word was exact in the book. But his perspective was different than mine. Mine isn't right. His isn't right. Well, mine is right and so is his. But mine isn't better than his. But the book was already written. So when they say that God made man in his own image, there's another way of looking at it. It was for us to go experience the story he already written. Just like the author needs somebody to read the book, or it'll never be read or experienced. The book needs to be experienced. We are the experiences of the story we were put into, like actors setting on a film.
Truly.
Our perspective gives us the ability whether we're going to enjoy it or hate it as we drag our feet or float like the angels we are. That's the free will we have. But the story is already written. Stop trying to change the story, the outside world, and go within and change your perspective about the story and watch the most glorious story you've ever read. And don't try to figure it out. Know why? Because you can't figure it out till you completely read the full book. And don't race to the end of the book, because you know what that happens? Then you transfer into a different form.
Just getting out of one car and into
In
another.
earthly terms, that means death. It means you die. Again, after I finish this book, there are other books to read. There's infinite books to read. But we are here living, experiencing a story that's already told. But the free will is we get to say whether it's good, bad, indifferent, exciting, shitty. Some chapters are shitty. That's how I felt at the time. Some chapters are exciting. And when I get to the exciting chapter, I look back at the other chapters. Oh my God, they weren't shitty. They were great because it led me here.
What's the best way to explain how you are still creating?
Your creation.
Because I want.
All right, your
you know what I'm saying?
creation is the physical world. So it's almost like this.
But
A
if
part
the
of us
story is
is-
written,
The projection,
mhm,
we are the light. All right? So if you have a projector and a reel of film, and the reel sits on this table and the projector hears, nothing is experienced. But once they take the canister and put it up on the thing and run it through and hit, now I'm creating. Because the light is going through the negative and hitting onto the screen, creating the physical world. We are that projector that creates onto the world, but we didn't write the story. We're projecting the story. We're telling the story. That's the creation.
that's it.
That's the ultimate creation.
We'll
But if the
tell
canister's sitting here and the projector's unplugged, they're just two in and out of objects. They don't mean anything.
And see, like, I love it. That's what we're getting to, is like how we're writing, projecting, and experiencing
Experiencing it.
all at the same time. And
Yes.
that's what we mean by that fourth and fifth dimension, lack of the time, space, etc. And on the third dimension, this very linear world that we live in, where we look at it as, okay, it's been an hour.
Yeah. And perhaps when we get these other dimensions, we'll be the writers, so to speak. At some level, we are the writers, but we came here to experience it, to see it, to project the story that runs through us. And if you understand every human being has a part and all equal in its value, 7.8 billion people, how many are on the earth, are all the equal in value of their own story. Someone might tell them, my story is better than yours. That's malarkey. That is not true, because my story would not exist without somebody across the Atlantic or the Pacific.
And that was a really important point, because it's like some people get tripped up and they think, okay, I'm meant to be this then. And it's like, no. That's the ego, that's the subconscious putting you in a box. You're not meant to do anything except be.
That's it. And when you be, you'll get impulses and the expression will come through you. And that's just it.
But that's the thing, is like people get tripped up and they'll say, okay, if I'm meant to hold this role. No. Pull that.
No.
Pull those thoughts back.
When you actually get silent and go within, we like to call it, like, what's my purpose? Empirically, your purpose is expression. To give out expression. Okay, let's go further. What expression am I going to go out? Well, you'll find that there are more things you edge towards. So let's take like someone like Michelangelo. And I remember reading things on interviews I guess people had back in the day. Obviously, I've never seen it because it was a long time ago. But he talked about, like, when he sculpted David out of a slab of marble, he was told through his higher self, source, God, however he explained it, what to remove. But David already existed. The story already existed. He just was told what to remove with the chisel and the hammer and how to refine it, to pull it out. He didn't create it. He brought it to life. He expressed it, and that is the creation. But it was already there. It was inside that slab, that chunk of marble. He released it, and his releasing of it was his creation. It's a very fine line, almost like the horse and the carriage type thing.
Everything already exists.
It's within, coming through us. Again, we're like these, powerful, sophisticated Bluetooth speakers and devices that the music isn't in the Bluetooth speaker, it's coming through it. And that's how we express it. We push it out into the world. And then, and then someone's like, look what I got. And then you take a guitar and a piano and the drums, and then you start to create through other people and collaboration. And then all of a sudden, God's like, wow, I didn't see that coming. Because once you took chocolate and peanut butter, it's like, holy shit, and then a marshmallow comes along. Forget about it. Right? The peanut butter on itself was good.
That's for sure.
The chocolate on itself was good. The marshmallow on itself is good. But you get three together, it's like, what do we got here? Right? Holy cow! Right?
This is where it's at.
Yeah, and then like some hot pepper comes, hey, can I join? Get the hell out of here, no hot pepper. It's like, but then it's like, oh, wait a minute, guys, let's not be hasty here. This might be something new here. There's a little hot pepper on there. It's like, holy cow, who knew? Who knew? Right? It's crazy out here. But when we express in a collaborative form, the expansion begins. This is why we came here. So I came here to perceive the story that lays in front of me as I move through the world. And I express it, and then I tell you about it. And you tell me about yours, I'm like, oh my God. And then together we come together and we create something that we never saw, we'd never seen. And we didn't even set out to do it. I had no idea. But before I stepped onto that path, I knew. I knew it was possible. And what is the possibility I now know about? It's possible to maintain a frequency in a field of uncertainty with excitement. There was a time when I stepped onto that path of uncertainty with fear. And oh my God, how difficult that was.
That's the hard part. That's what we're trying to help people climb out of.
Yeah, and
Is
don't get me
realizing
wrong,
there's
I fall into these moments, I'm not
nothing to
perfect,
climb out of.
but when I do, it strengthens that. Like I get better at it. So I still fall into that. I'm not exempt from it. Yeah, I'm not.
That's part of the daily. Just hey.
Thank you.
It's
It is
a lot of unprogramming or
it is
reprogramming.
It is your daily bread. Your daily bread is to wake up and remind yourself, I am a powerful perceiver. Because I have the ability to perceive it however I want it. And someone's like, no, 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 you ought to not perceive it that way. That is bad, this is good. That is one way of looking at it. If you believe that, you will absolutely experience that. I'm not saying it's wrong, but we're here to say, no, that's a program that I no longer want to run towards. I want this other program, one that says I get to say whether it's good or bad, and I want to say it's all good. And the uncomfortableness regulates my body. And it regulates, I'm like, oh my God, I can control my body temperature. That's crazy. Wow. I can stay calm and regulate someone screaming at me and not absorb it. And have compassion for that person at the same time. I can only imagine what they're going through. But I'm not taking it in because they're not yelling at me. They're yelling at themselves. And that's perspective I've come to know. And when you do, you not only help yourself, you actually help the other person. And that's the power we have. When we actually ignite the inner workings, we actually send a ripple out to the universe, and we help wake up people. But again, that's not why I do it. I'm not doing it out of arrogance. I'm like, I can help the world by doing this. No, that is a residual effect. But I want to go into my inner sanctuary. I meditate to meditate. I don't meditate to lower my heart rate. It just so happens my heart rate lowers. But that's not why I do it. Because if I did, I'm giving that as a stepping. It's not what I'm looking for. I want to experience meditation, and whatever happens from it is good. But if I just say meditation's job is to make me calm, all of a sudden I took that and just made it a sounding board. I just deferred it. It's an experience. But yet, paradoxically, all these things will happen. But that's not why I did it.
Let me throw something at you.
Don't throw it too hard.
So I love this. Have you ever heard of the word or the term Maya? And like what that describing, like Maya essentially meaning illusion or magic, and then in like Sanskrit, I believe the terminology was being able to make one perceive an illusion as reality.
Yeah, and that's what we're here to do.
And that is truly what we're describing, is this world that we're running around in, you can get out of this, of it. You can, like mentally, like that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And so when you realize this, I don't want to just say the rat race for what it is, but really what you're a part of, and it's a cog in a system, you're like, okay, I can step out of this, enjoy what is I'm experiencing, and actually like steer the ship, if you will, and be the vessel that we are.
Yeah, because like we want to lose ourselves in this. Like a great actor knows they're acting, but there is a point in the performance where they forget they're acting and they actually are the character, and that's how they fool the audience. But what doesn't make them go into hysteria or lose their mind in it is they also step out and realize, I'm just acting. But you have to lose yourself. So it is a game. Alan Watts said this. It's a game of hide and seek, how well we play it. But a lot of people in the rat race don't know they're playing a game of hide and seek. And they're constantly seeking, not realizing they're the ones hiding in the closet. They're the one. So by all means, step out of it and then immerse yourself in it. And in a moment, you forget. So when I do the process, I'm so one with the process, I don't know if it's the process or the conscious focus that's doing it. But does it really matter at that moment? But when I step back, I see what it is. It was my conscious focus on it. And why do I do that? Why do I get to that understanding? Because if it was this meditation for 20 minutes and it was this particular piece of music, and close my eyes, and it was, the sun was coming in this way. You have to exactly replicate it, and even if you can imagine, or even if you get to the point where you can replicate that again, and you don't experience it, you say something is wrong. Because you're giving the system, or what you're doing, the reason. And don't ever give it the reason, because if you do, you then forget the game. But when I'm in it, whether it's the meditation or my consciousness onto meditation, in that moment it doesn't matter. It's this place I lifted to. That's all that matters. But when I step back, I realize, oh, the horse is what pulled the carriage. Because when you actually are sitting on the carriage, have the reins on the horse, it's one thing now. It's not separate. You, the carriage and horse, are one thing.
You're in flow.
Yeah, you're in flow. That's what we're trying to get to.
No,
That's the beauty of it.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that's how you know you're there, when it's flow.
That's it. You're no longer separate from the carriage, the horse, or the reins.
And you can find this in anything: swimming, golfing, running. These are very common. Cooking.
Sitting down, talking with your buddy, and a mic in between you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's our goal, is to search and perceive and shift the perspective as we go along.
That's what I'm saying.
And hopefully we offer something that triggers something. But nonetheless, we have a great time doing it.
And that's the goal of it. It's enjoy what you're doing, guys, because
So it's enjoy the ride.
That's
Yeah,
the experience.
Yeah,
That's what we're here for. Experience it.
that's it.